Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me today. Today I'd like to talk about stencils. Now we know there's a lot of them out there on the market. There's different shapes, different pictures, different patterns, mask stencils, normal stencils, every stencil you could think of. We know you can use them with obviously your shimmer sprays, your oxide sprays, your dilution sprays, mica sprays. You can use them with your distress paints, gives you a similar sort of look to all your oxides and distress inks. Your paints, very similar thing. Distress stain gives you another option to do with them. You can also emboss with them using an embossing pen and your embossing powder. Just draw through the stencil with your pen and then emboss as you normally would. You can do waxes through them, they work just as well. Gives you a little bit of a different look as well. Obviously texture paste is the main one as well. But you can also use alcohol inks. Alcohol inks won't give you a defined look like your normal ink pads and that do, but I'll show you. It gives you a bit of a stained glass look, I suppose. That's all you need to do. It does run underneath this stencil as well, giving it that stained glass look. So if you can see, it's running under there. But the thing is, you need to let it sit aside to dry. So I'm just going to put a little bit of pink on there as well. So this is on acetate that I'm doing this. You could probably use the Yupo paper as well. I might put a little bit down here. But you do need to remember it won't give you the defined look that a normal stencil would. So what you need to do is just leave it dry. So we're going to try and move it out the way for a minute, and I'll show you something else you can do with your stencils as well. So while that's drying, you can also use your stencils to stamp through. So if you wanted to do a shape and do something in that shape, you could draw your shape on with your stencil, and then stamp through it, but not using a stamp block because you've got the extra layer in between the stamp and your paper. You need to be able to push down a little bit more. So your stencil will clean up just by wiping it off. So I don't want to move that stencil. But you can see there that you've got something a little bit different. You can use all sorts of stencils to do that and give you a totally different look. So there's a circle one. You can also use your stencils to doodle. So I've used the shapes of the stencils and then done my doodling inside them or just coloured them. And hopefully now our alcohol ink will be dry, so you can just pull it off, set your stencil aside. I'll give it a wipe off because that alcohol ink won't be completely dry. Your stencils will clean off quite easily as well. And there you can see, hopefully, a little bit of a stained glass look using your alcohol inks. So if you wanted to as well, you could add extra effect by adding foil on there. If you don't have a stencil that you want to use, and you've got any different shape you want to make, you can make your own stencil. You can use that part of it, or you can use that part of it. I've just used cardstock for this one, but you can also use acetate, if you can see that there. It's just a picture I've found that I wanted to use. I haven't found a stencil, so I actually made my own. It's not thick acetate, but it's thick enough that it's going to do what I want it to do. If you've got one of the Cricut machines or a scan and cut, you could also make your own. If you can see those there, you can make your own stencils for letters. These ones will give you the opposite effect, so they're like a mask stencil. Yeah, so there's quite a few different uses you can use with your stencils. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of inspiration to do a lot more with them, apart from the paints and the stains and the texture paste. So give it a go.